43%. That's how many women over 65 have already fallen at least once. Not might fall, have already fallen. And here's the part almost nobody tells you. Half of them will fall again within the year. I'm Dr. Romalia, and in the next 15 minutes, I'm not going to give you another generic stretching routine. I'm going to walk you through 6 movement practices that are centuries old, that modern clinical research has now confirmed actually rebuild what your body starts losing after 50. Stay to the end, because the 4th one is the one almost nobody talks about, and it's the one with the strongest data behind it. So let's talk about what's actually happening in your body right now, because most women are never told this in a normal doctor's visit. Somewhere around menopause, your estrogen drops, and estrogen was doing more for you than you realized. It was protecting your bones. The research is specific here. In the 3 years surrounding your final period, you can lose bone density at about 2.5% a year in your spine and close to 2% a year in your hip. That's not a slow drift. That's a steep drop, concentrated in a short window. And it doesn't stop there. Estrogen was also supporting muscle growth signals in your body. When it drops, you start losing lean muscle mass too. And that loss tends to accelerate the further you get into the menopause transition, not the closer. Here's why that matters beyond the number on a scan. Muscle and bone are what keep you upright. They're what let you catch yourself when you trip on a curb instead of going down. So when both decline at the same time, your balance takes the hit. That's exactly why fall rates climb so sharply in women and not nearly as sharply in men at the same age. It is not bad luck. It is biology, and biology can be worked with. And I want to be precise about why this is a women's issue specifically. Lower baseline muscle mass and higher rates of osteoporosis are part of it. But the bigger piece is timing. Men lose bone and muscle gradually over decades. Women lose a huge percentage of it compressed into a 3 to 5 year window around menopause. It's not a slow slope. It's closer to a cliff, and nobody hands you a warning label for it. You just notice one day that the stairs feel different, that your balance on uneven ground isn't what it used to be. Those aren't random signs of aging. They're measurable, study-confirmed consequences of a hormonal shift. And they're also largely reversible with the right kind of movement. Now, I want to be honest with you about something. A lot of fitness content aimed at women over 50 either babies you with seated stretches that don't do much, or pushes you toward high-intensity workouts built for 25-year-old joints. Neither of those is actually matched to what the research says works. What works is specific, it's been tested, and some of the most effective practices for this exact stage of life are not new inventions from a fitness influencer. They're movement systems that are hundreds, sometimes thousands of years old. And they're only now getting the randomized controlled trials to prove what practitioners always said. So here are the 6. I'm going to walk you through each one, tell you exactly why it works on your body, and give you what the actual studies found. Number 1, Tai Chi. Tai Chi is slow, weight-shifting, continuous movement. You've probably seen people doing it in a park, moving like they're underwater. It looks gentle. It is not a gentle effect on your nervous system. Tai Chi trains proprioception, your body's sense of where it is in space without looking. That sense degrades with age, and it's one of the biggest hidden contributors to falls. Multiple clinical trials on older adults have shown Tai Chi improves single-leg standing time and reduces postural sway, meaning your body wobbles less when you're just standing still. It also shows up consistently in fall prevention research as one of the few interventions that reduces both the fear of falling and the actual fall rate. And that matters because fear of falling makes women move less, which makes balance worse, which is a cycle Tai Chi helps interrupt. Here's how to start. 10 minutes a day is enough. Stand with your feet hip-width apart, knees soft, and shift your weight slowly from one leg to the other, arms moving like you're pushing through water with no rush at all. The slowness is the entire point. It forces the small, stabilizing muscles around your ankles, knees, and hips to fire continuously instead of in quick bursts. Number 2, Qigong. Qigong is related to Tai Chi, but more accessible if balance is already a real concern, because many forms can be practiced seated or with a chair for support. Here's the data that should get your attention. A 2025 randomized controlled trial published in Frontiers in Public Health took older women with a documented history of falls, split them into an experimental group and a control group, and had the experimental group practice a traditional Qigong form called Wu Qin Si 3 times a week, 70 minutes a session for 24 weeks. By the end, single leg stand time with eyes open had increased by 68%. With eyes closed, which is a much harder balance test because you've removed visual feedback, it increased by over 77%. Postural sway dropped by as much as 22%. This was women with documented, real-world fall risk, meaningfully changing their balance capacity in 6 months, measured with force plates, not guesswork. The form, Wu Jing Shi, translates to the 5 animal frolics and involves mimicking 5 animals: tiger, deer, bear, monkey, and bird, each targeting different muscle groups and weight-shifting patterns. You don't need to memorize the symbolism. You need to commit to the repetition, 3 sessions a week, and give it at least 12 weeks before judging whether it's working, because that's the window where the study saw its first significant gains. Number 3, yoga, specifically weight-bearing and balance-focused poses. Tree pose, warrior poses, chair pose held for time. What makes this kind of yoga different from generic stretching is that many of these poses are isometric. You're holding a muscle contraction under your own body weight, which signals to bone that it needs to stay dense. Remember that bone loss number from earlier? 2.5% a year in the spine during the menopause transition? Bone is living tissue, and it follows a principle researchers call Wolff's Law. Bone remodels itself based on the load placed on it. No load, no signal to rebuild. Holding Warrior 2 for 30 seconds, with your weight properly distributed through your front leg and your back leg actively pressing into the floor, does something a casual stretch never will. Start with 5 poses: tree pose, Warrior 1, Warrior 2, chair pose, and a supported standing forward fold. Hold each for 20 to 30 seconds, focus on weight distribution rather than how the pose looks, and use a wall or chair for support in the early weeks if you need it. There's no shame in that. It lets you build the whole time that actually matters instead of wobbling through it and getting less benefit. Number 4. Walking with added load, sometimes called rucking, though the practice itself goes back further than the name. This is the one I told you to wait for, and here's why. Soldiers, porters, and farmers have walked with weighted loads for thousands of years out of pure necessity. What clinical and longevity research is now showing is that walking under light load is one of the most efficient ways to simultaneously train cardiovascular fitness, bone density, and functional strength without the joint stress of running or the complexity of heavy lifting. Added load while walking increases mechanical stress on your hips and spine, exactly the 2 sites where postmenopausal bone loss hits hardest. Walking alone with no added resistance is good for your heart, but it doesn't carry enough mechanical load to meaningfully slow that bone loss. Adding even a modest amount of weight changes that. You don't need specialized gear. A loaded day pack with 5 to 10 pounds, worn across both shoulders so the weight sits close to your spine for a 30-minute walk is enough to start. If you're newer to this, begin with 5 pounds and shorter walks and build from there over a few weeks. Walk on varied terrain when you can. A park path with gentle slopes is better for balance training than a flat treadmill because uneven ground keeps the same proprioceptive systems from Tai Chi engaged. This single habit addresses your cardiovascular health, your bone density, and your muscular endurance at the same time, which is genuinely rare for one practice to do. Number 5, functional strength training using your own body weight and resistance bands. I want to address something directly because I hear it constantly from patients. A lot of women over 50 were told for decades that lifting weights would make them bulky or that it was risky for their joints. That advice was wrong, and the data is now unambiguous. In a 6-month randomized controlled trial, postmenopausal women with osteopenia or osteoporosis who did structured resistance training increased their lumbar spine bone density by close to 2%. The control group, who didn't train, saw almost no change. 2% in 6 months might sound modest until you remember that without intervention, the natural direction during this life stage is downward by 2.5% a year. Strength training didn't just slow the decline in this study, it reversed it. You don't need a gym or heavy dumbbells right away. Squats, wall push-ups, resistance band rows, glute bridges, and step-ups onto a low platform target the major muscle groups that matter most for daily function: your legs, hips, back, and core. These are direct mechanical signals to your bones and muscles to stay strong, the same way load through walking and isometric holds in yoga are. 2 to 3 sessions a week, 15 to 20 minutes each, is enough to start reversing the trend instead of just slowing it. Number 6, sensory motor and balance board training. This is the newest of the 6 in terms of formal study, but the most directly aimed at the exact problem we opened with. A 2025 trial comparing exercise types in adults aged 55 to 80, divided into a control group, a sensory motor training group, an aqua aerobics group, and a Pilates group, tracked strength, flexibility, and functional mobility over 24 weeks. Sensory motor training and aqua aerobics produced the best improvements in physical function of any group tested. Sensory motor training works by combining balance challenge with coordination and joint position sense, usually using an unstable surface like a foam pad or a folded towel that forces your ankles, knees, and hips to make constant small corrections. Start by standing on a folded towel, holding onto a counter or chair for safety, and shifting your weight slowly side to side and front to back. Once that feels stable, lift one foot slightly off the surface for a few seconds at a time. Progress by closing your eyes for a few seconds while standing on stable ground first, then eventually on the unstable surface, always with something to grab nearby. Just a few minutes a day, 4 to 5 days a week, retrains the exact systems that decline with age and directly cause falls. So here's what I want you to take from all of this. None of these 6 practices require a gym membership, a young person's joints, or hours a day. What they require is consistency and the willingness to treat your balance and your bone density as seriously as you'd treat your blood pressure or your cholesterol. Because the research shows the risk is just as real. If you start with just 2 of these, I'd say Qigong and walking with light load, and do them 4 to 5 days a week for the next month, you will feel a difference in how steady you are on your feet. Not eventually, within weeks. The studies I just walked you through saw measurable change in 12 to 24 weeks, and some balance improvements showed up even sooner than that. Now here's what I need from you. If this video gave you something you didn't already know, hit subscribe, because every week I'm breaking down research like this. Real studies, real numbers, not wellness trends dressed up as science. Drop a comment and tell me which of these 6 you're starting with today, because I read every single one and I want to know what's actually holding you back from starting. And if you know a woman in your life who needs to hear that 43% number, share this with her. Because the data is clear that the women who start moving differently after 50 are the ones who stay independent, stay steady, and stay strong for decades longer than the women who don't. I'm Dr. Romalia. I'll see you in the next one.